Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. First of all, thank you all for checking me out once again. I certainly love you all and hope that you are having as fantastic as a day as I'm having already, yet again. Keeping the streak alive. All right. So I want to build on a very important subject. I believe I'm going to go with the title of this video, Shared Melanin, Humanity's Future. All right. Deep topic. Okay, so we need to dive right in and refresh the fact that, you know, I've spoken myself and a lot of others on videos about the fact that we are currently engaged in a beautiful opportunity to ascend on this planet. And with that, by the way, when I say the word beautiful, I just got to pan around one time. It's a beautiful day yet again, right? But yeah, we have a beautiful opportunity on this planet to ascend, or to evolve, you know, to take a giant evolutionary jump here, which is incredibly profound, right? There are a lot of reasons why we have this opportunity that are each in their own right profound, like our positioning in the galaxy, in terms of our solar system's positioning in the galaxy currently. And just a reminder, our solar system does orbit the center of the galaxy the same way our planet and the 9 planets in our solar system orbit the sun. All right. I don't want to open up a can of worms on that 9 planets thing either, but we'll revisit that in another video. So yeah, we are at a position in the galaxy that is affording us the opportunity to be impacted profoundly by energies bombarding this planet, both in the category of new energies that we've not had on this planet, at least in the existence of this version of humanity, right? And also increased levels of energies that we've gotten somewhat used to, like infrared, ultraviolet rays, right? Gamma rays, incredibly heightened levels, right? And we see a lot of that also in conjunction with increased and sometimes unprecedented solar activity, right? All right. So, along with that are other things that have sped along our opportunity to really advance as a civilization, to evolve, right, or to ascend. Like the timing that we are in, which a lot of people do a great job of describing our astrological positioning in quote unquote the big wheel, right? Which refers to that traversing of our solar system around the galaxy, right? That wheel represents one rev or one revolution around the center of the galaxy, giving you all the houses and all the varying positionings, right, astrologically. In that we are in the Aquarian age, entering into it I say in it. um, and information is free flowing. Light is free flowing, as is love. Love light. But yeah, all these things factor into that we have an incredible opportunity to ascend on this planet. Now, with that evolution, that ascension, we have to take a look at the components of it, right? What do we now know about ourselves? We know that we are multi-dimensional, energetic or spiritual beings, right? We know now that there are quantum, there are scientific disciplines like quantum biology, quantum mechanics that validate this, right? For those who need it, right? But it's there now. And we know that we have a profound effect, and impact and influence on both the quantum field that connects the space, that is the space between all particles and the energies that operate therein, right? And photons and the particles of reality or existence itself. We impact that. Thus our ability to manifest. Now, we're always manifesting, again, as I've said 1,000,000,000 times. It's just a matter of whether we're doing so consciously or subconsciously. Now, here's where the two line up with our ascension or our evolution. We most certainly exponentially increase our ability to manifest consciously, all right? Thus profoundly, some might say incredibly, enhancing our ability to change our reality, right? Quite literally, all right? So with that, we're talking about a greater ability to, well, before I skip to ability, with that, in that process, we're talking about, and again, this is supported in those quantum scientific disciplines, we are talking about the flowering of human DNA, right? We often see the references to the lotus flower, okay? Folks, the indigenous and the ancient folks talked about this, right? But we lost a lot of it culturally along the way. Many of us did, not all of us. But anyway, that reference to our DNA, which our DNA is also been scientifically proven to have a multi-dimensional aspect to it, all right? Quite naturally. So again, that process is about our DNA flowering, or in better lame, I guess in easier terms, achieving its full potential, and us operating at 100% DNA activation rather than the typical approximated 30% that we're used to operating at. All right? This is the way it's supposed to be. Think about that for a second, right? Do we really think that our Creator created us? Or even that if you don't believe we were created on some level, however you believe we came to be, whatever is your school of thought, does it even make sense that we would operate or function at less than 100% of our capacity? What other aspect of your life do you accept 30% efficiency? What if you only got 30% efficiency out of your car? You call it a piece of junk. So why do we accept that from ourselves and in ourselves? Why have we diverted our attention to external pursuits of technological advancement, and we have not yet mastered internal pursuit of self-mastery? Huh? Think about that. But anyway, the process, again, refers to us fully activating our DNA. And with that, we have to understand that there's a multi-layered process that we go through, right? Now, that process not only is energetic in us learning about our chakra system, and how to maintain energetic balance, but it's also physical, right? It's got to be, because we're talking about affecting our physical DNA, right? So, again, we are benefited in this area by where we're at right now. And those factors are aiding us physically in flowering our DNA. Now, here's where we get deeper into that subject, right? I've talked myself and also several others about how there are interests, individuals, groups, organizations, those who we would label the elites, right? Who want to maintain the control they had established in the old paradigm, where we did only function and had only aspirations or acceptance of functioning at that lower level of it, 30%, right? And not only that, they kept us completely in the dark about our potential to do better than that. And kept us completely under subjugation through what? Through their control of the flow of information. Now that ties us back into where we are in the quote-unquote information age. How are you going to control the flow of information in the information age? The answer is they have not. They've done their best to taint information that's out there. They've put misinformation out there, and have done everything they can to attack and discredit individuals who bring forth that light, all the way up to the extreme extent, in some cases, of that individual's disappearance or death. All right, so why such drastic means? Again, these individuals want to maintain, or these organizations want to maintain, the old paradigm that afforded them literal control over the masses. All right? The power that they've grown so addicted to. Now, these organizations have put incredible layers in place to ensure this, right? And along with that, some very insidious and devious mechanisms to keep us not only factually ignorant, right? but also misled, and distracted, fragmented. Much easier to control the masses if they're in that state, right? So what is one of their most powerful mechanisms to have accomplished this, right? And that tool that I reference is a mechanism called racism, beginning with the invention of race, right? Well, what do you mean the invention of race? We're all either one race or another race, King Sadiq. Well, no, actually we're not. Race is not real. Race is an invention. Before race was invented, and for reference, you know, you can look into individuals like Johannes Frederick in the late 1700s, who first began to utilize these terms that we now refer to as race, where he categorized several groups of individuals into these race groups that he quite literally created, affording them the ability to change the perception of certain groups of individuals that they look to dominate, right? To usurp. In ridiculous fashion, right? So I won't go too deep into what all was done. We know our quote-unquote history as much as we have delved into it, and many of us who do free-thinking research delve beyond what you get in the His Story books. But at any rate, this mechanism changed what the old standard was, which people were generally previously identified by tribalism, regional affiliation, nationalism, and other means of heritage and lineage identification, which kept intact a far better understanding of the families that operated in the world, right? Okay. Another reason, either another reason or a side benefit to that mechanism being created, because if you blur the family lines and let that knowledge become secret, that only aids in the operation of those families who now control the world remaining hidden in the extent of their power. But that may have been a side benefit or another causation as to why that mechanism was created. But nonetheless, the terms of, or the identification of individuals as either black or white, right? Which we, most especially in the U.S., we generalize people like that so much, despite the fact that we have so many nationalities and different quote-unquote races and folks from different nationalities, people from all over the world, different mixes, but we just lump everybody into either you're black or white, right? Because we are used to operating within that box, within that mechanism of race. But we have to, again, understand what it benefited these individuals and why it was created. And when you spin forward, where we went, particularly in this country, with race, we can see the division, right? You created mentalities that from the onset poisoned the psyche of any of those individuals that were grouped in those boxes, black or white. Black people subjugated, right? Enslaved, robbed of their land, because again, all quote unquote black people were not brought here through slave trade. In fact, the original or indigenous peoples of this country, right, would fall into that category. The highly melanated. All right. Now here's where we start to make another tie-in. If you are looking, or if you are one who understands the importance of melanin, as did these groups of secret societies, quote unquote, or individuals who control the flow of information for the advent of power over the masses. If you were understanding of the importance of melanin, which they were, as part of the process of human flowering of the DNA and attaining 100% potential, right? 100% efficacy of your DNA. If you are these organizations or groups understanding that, then you understand, as you do not want anyone to reach that level of evolution or ascension, right? Because again, remember, along with that comes a level of enlightenment that breaks the control of flow of information and thus breaks the cycle of power. So you do not want a planet of folks who are ascending, right? So you understand the importance of melanin in that process, then you want control over the melanin on the planet, and most certainly the melanated people, the highly melanated people. All people have some level of melanation, right? And I talked about that on previous videos. I don't want to get too far off on that tangent, so please look at previous videos, either by myself or other folks, or do your own free thinking, independent research into that. But we have to get back to understanding or to utilizing the tool of pathological thought, right? And with that pathological thought, we get the ability to understand or retro sort of break down the causation or the motivations of those individuals who wanted to control both the melanin and the melanated individuals on the planet, right? Now, before we go too far into that, let's talk a little bit about the process again and how or where melanin comes into play in the process. I talked about part of the process being self-mastery energetically and understanding your chakras and how to master your energetic system, your electromagnetic system that formulates what we refer to as our biosphere scientifically, right? And that a big part of that is understanding your chakra system and how to attain and maintain balance energetically. All right. And there is an awakening process that a lot of us have recently become familiar with, has actually become quite popular, the Kundalini activation, that refers to activation of latent spiritual energy that pulls in the area closest to what we would refer to as our root chakra, right? Now, that latent energy is fundamental in the activation process, or the initiation of the process of us attaining 100% DNA activation. Because what happens in the Kundalini process, and this is interesting because a lot of Masons may perk their head up and like, well, how's he talking about that? So there's a fluid upon a certain age of maturation. Many will state to you that, quote unquote, in the Jesus gospel, he attained that state of maturation at the age of 33. All right? Powerful number. Anybody in the numerology knows that that's one of the master numbers, 11, 22, 33, etc. Okay. That fluid traverses down through what is referred to as the claustrum membrane in the brain, which is a membrane that is, for lack of better description, beneath your pineal organ and at the top of your spinal column, where that connection sort of meets up, right? And that fluid traverses literally down through the claustrum membrane, claustrum or claustrum, Santa Claus, right? It travels down your spine to the target area, which is that latent energy nearest your root chakra. Now, I made that reference real quick to Santa Claus because they talk about Santa Claus going down the chimney bearing gifts, right? And it's a wink and a nod, so to speak, to that process as that fluid traverses down through the claustrum, down the chimney or your spinal column with the gifts, the sacred fluid that activates the release of that spiritual energy. Wow, right? Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to get off on a side tangent about the whole claustrum and Santa Claus thing and all that. But in that process, when that latent energy is released, pardon me, it got something in my eye there. Okay. So that latent energy, when released, traverses back up the spinal column, up all 33 vertebrae, right? And reaches the pineal organ, right? And through that, your quote-unquote third eye now gains 100% capacity or efficacy. What many of us don't understand about the pineal, and why I refer to it as an organ as opposed to a gland, like the medical associations like to refer to it as, is because glands merely secrete vital bodily fluids and chemical concoctions, right? Whereas your organs are where they are produced. And in that, we can refer to the production of the highest grade of melanin, that neuromelanin. Remember, highest grade of melanin, neuromelanin. which is necessary to fully or have 100% efficacy of that process, right? The fluid you want going down your spine, you want to be of 100% efficacy, right? All right. You need that to be containing neuromelanin, which is produced there in your fully activated pineal organ. All right. I want to get back to the importance of that again. But moving forward in the process, once you have that fully activated melanin, melanin in our bodies is not just located in your epidermis. It is not just a pigment. For those who study melanin and know of melanin, and I'll often reference, I'll give them the nod, say the great Dr. Layla, Africa, in the way he breaks down the importance and the complexity of melanin on a molecular level, right? But just to keep it in terms of the process, it is needed to orchestrate 100% efficacy or 100% functionality of our DNA, right? And you attain that through this process. Now, let's go back. I know I'm long-winded on this, folks, but it's certainly a lot in this process. Let's go back to the fact that there are those individuals who wanted and still want to maintain control or maintain that old world paradigm that affords them control over the masses through the control of the flow of information. Again, I stated these individuals, the last thing, the absolute last thing that they would want is for individuals to go through this process on a widespread basis. Because individuals who have gone through this process quite simply no longer fall into a category of one who can be subjugated by the means that they have previously seen success. They cannot subjugate you once you have fully awakened. They can't even fool you with the Maya, right? And with their illusory constructs, like race, time, another subject. But anyway, these individuals, understanding the importance of melanin in that process, particularly the highest grade melanin, which is, by the way, what is found